today lecture, it's not really a lecture. No? It's more like some thoughts that I developed on purpose for this situation, because knowing that the project development in the group, it's going more into this material, like heavy material direction, and I'm not as much into that. But recently, when we started to program our next symposium in May, and it's about unconventional computing and permacomputing, we've started to develop some certain insights where I start struggling with finding the right words to describe what we would like to communicate inside the symposium. Especially before it happens that at that time we will also have an exhibition that doesn't fit really into living systems through art, that where we are focusing our main curatorial interest, but that there will be also some artworks which are having some kind of life in it, but it's not biological life. And in not going into metaphysical thinking, I was starting digging in the archive or the artworks that we were exhibiting so far. And I found some interesting cases where we were thinking even before, that in these solid materials there is some kind of hidden dynamics that are having some kind of life property. I collected some of the artworks from our archive, and some of the artworks that we are producing, that we were producing recently, and I will try now, like, thinking cloudly, and we'll try to find the connections between them. Because I had no time to really go into cancel against them, into inventing or finding really precise work. I don't guarantee that my lecture will have a lot of sense, but I will try hardly. So what we are seeing here is a piece of Ralph Baker, the same artist that we have his exhibition here next door, where he found a piece of the crude silicon carbide, which is a material from where the silicon chips for the computers are made. And he found that the ore of silicon is having already properties that can be explored. And here we see. Well, okay. Here we see this chunk of stone connected with something more than 50 pins, and through the pins, through half of them, the signal is coming in, and then the signal is traveling inside the rock, and it's coming somewhere out. No? And it's a sound installation, but every electric discharging, it's also lighting a crystal like a LED diode, which is also pointing to the recent LED technology that is using the same material. And as we are accustomed in his work, he's always trying to find some kind of inner dynamics, either in the machine, inside the machine, or inside the material he's using, pointing to the fact that when we are thinking about machines, when we are thinking about something that we, on the first glance, looks like dead, inert, or without its own agency, no? That there are some that we have to be super sensitive about that and try to understand that when we are using the machine, it has its own will or its own a dynamic that cannot be predicted. And sometimes these dynamics are causing the falling of the machine. And so a lot of artists are saying that these are the demons inside the machine, that this is the soul of the machine, and that this is much easier how we can establish our relationship with something that is sold as a soulless device. But we know that emotionally we are very much connected to our phones or our computers or other devices, and that there is more than just clicking and using them as it was predicted. As a counterpart to that piece of stone, I did a photo from my phone of the installation that it's here in a small gallery, where the SCOBY, this symbiotic colony of yeast and bacteria, it also looks like an inert mass, an inert slime, but inside we know that there is some kind of life, some kind of living. And when I was trying to finding a match, like the one from the biologically, from the organic world, and the one from the inorganic world, it came to my mind that maybe, we have a beautiful opportunity to stop thinking about organic and inorganic world, or organic or inorganic material, in the opposition, in our binary way of understanding them. Because one in a sudden, we have something that is common to both, and maybe we can try and naming them differently, no? Like in these two cases, we have the phenomena of conductivity, and this conductivity is creating certain manifestations, certain phenomena that is opening a possibility to translate this material world totally different. There is another work of Ralph Becker, and I will stop with Ralph, where he developed a performative, but it functions also as an installation piece, where he's using not ferrofluid, but some magnetical material with electromagnetic properties, and when stimulating it, this material is forming different shapes. We know this phenomena from biology and from the early, it's still actually exploration of how the life began, no? And the origin of life, how this primary soup of elements, one in a sudden, start to produce life, no? And in one moment, just before the life appeared as autonomous, there is a behavior in some of the materials that we are calling protocells. Very simply put, it's if you put some drops of oil into water, for example, no, in shallow water, you will see these drops floating separately, but having its own membrane formed around, nothing. Inside it's still just oil, no? But when you see how these cells are joining and growing or separating, no? We already get the idea of how the cellular behavior starts to develop before that. And in this performance, the material is obviously not a biological one, but by stimulating it electrically, and we know that in origin of life, the electrical discharging played a major role. No? For example, in the Adam Brown work called The Origin of Life, and it was set like it was set in 5 steps, and by creating the fluid that has the mineral properties of the primary soup, then the heating and freezing process occur, then evaporating, and again condensating a moment, can then mixing, and at the end he applied some electric high voltage discharging, and this was actually simulating one artistic scientific experiment from 50s, where the scientists were able to recreate some simple sugars, some simple minerals, but very complex one already, that are predecessors of a possible life in less than a year. So speaking about the electricity, it's vital here. And I have here selected a detail of a work of Michael Sedmon, where he was using slime mold. What we see here are actually 2 very simple electrodes made of alu foil, and the slime mold growing on it, and he combined it in a stack. So we see here paper dishes in stack, and these petri dishes were stimulated by lights, creating when the slime mold was making the contact with each other on the electrode. And slime mold, as we know, it is growing really fast, like 10 centimeters per day. chasing some kind of starch that it's food. No? And these stacks were put in an interplay where they were competing, like in one video game that is called Game of Life. No? So the whole artwork was trying to recreate this rather Darwinian fight for surviving. No? But again, what it's crucial is that when slime mold connect the electrodes, the currents, the electricity made the connection, like in the work of Ralph Becker. No? Now, this is a work that we are expecting now to be set in our gallery in May, where Joanna developed this installation according to some scientific experimentation of fluid computation. So just by understanding the tension of the surface of water, you can predict how the water will flow. No? And it is so precise by making this, what we see like flower-like structures like this. Now, this is not, I would say, only for the visual purpose, not at all. These structures, if you go and check for these experiments in 50s, were exactly the forms that were used in making these fluidics used for computation. And as said, if you know how to use the tension, the surface tension of water, you can predict so precisely that it works like an hour. And we know that computers are basically hours, no? The clocks that are ticking, like tick, 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 tick. No? And this is how the this installation is made, and pointing to this direction of material computation, where water properties can be used as a model for computation. Now, if you have some imagination, you can actually understand that the planet, it's 2/3 of water, and this water is having quite heavily cycles, in all possible forms, and that the living organisms needed to adapt to these, let's say, circles that can be understood as some kind of clocks that we, for now, we hadn't an opportunity yet to dive into all waters in the same time, to understand them, whether there is a rhythm between all possible forms of water that can be used as predictable systems. Speaking about the plants and water, it came to my mind this work of Phil Ross. I don't know why this mort. It was not on purpose. Where Phil Ross was planting a plant inside ghost. Was planting the plant inside the test tube. Here is the water with nutrients, and there is the microcontroller that it's watering, and that is actually it is using the role of a clock, and it's feeding the plant that it's in radical condition, and it's trying to support its life. So this life support system is meant to use only water and oxygenation of the water itself. So there is another piece that of Joanna, who is into, of course, into materiality, no? And in this case, this is one composite that he's using. It's actually zinc oxide. That it's an anthropogeneous material that we don't find it in nature in a clean form. We find it first time they found it. It was in after the fire in the mines, and this zincite appeared as a result of high temperature. And it got electromagnetical properties. So this, in this project, Pericon's Matters, she's using again the conductive and magnetic property inside the rock, and she's just sonifying them in a various setups. So every rock has its own way of saying what it is and who is it. The zincite is actually a heavy material. It's a heavy metal. As I said, that it's very difficult to find, but I found a parallel in the work of Alizé Armé. In his work, Albino Plants, she was inspired by a story where there are some sequoias in redwood that one in a sudden became albino. They are like grown trees, but in one moment they became white. And of course, since they cannot make photosynthesis, they are destined to die. And it's still not proved, but one of the possible scenarios is that the sequoias who are growing around this tree are using mycorrhizas and are feeding the albino tree, are trying to sustain it alive. And when the scientists were studying all the conditions that are different for these albino trees and the other sequoias, they found that in this albino tree there is a high concentrate of heavy metals. No? So that this speculative scenario that was interested for Alizé, who set a laboratory setup with a heavy soil, with plants that are prone to become albino, and this is additional soil with mycorrhizas, and there are some other vessels, and in one of them it's the soil that was harvested in one mine. Where did we get it? Yeah. Okay. In somewhere when we know that there are a lot of heavy metals, no? And of course this was just a take on this possible scenario, but she did the quite extensive series of experiments, so that she was trying to investigate how the plants are reacted and how the mycorrhizas is transferring the heavy metals into the soil in the next jar. Like having a mycelium in ground surrounded with minerals, no, it's probably also important, because so far, as many artworks that I saw, the artists were using a mycelium is in ideal situation. No, it's very much like in clean laboratories, no, where you take the species out of their ecological context, you bring it to a laboratory, you cultivate it like a monoculture, and you study it, but you don't really know what its role in the nature itself. And this is also something that we are thinking about quite a long time, and we just got European funding for a project where we will investigate exactly that. No? So the paradigm is that artists, together with scientists and together with the field practitioners, are researching some organisms. We don't know yet, it's going to be an open call, but in real situation, in an ecosystem. So there is going to be a change from clean lab to dirty lab. And this paradigm of dirty lab is something that we would like to push more and more, because we would like to understand not that there are signals, but what is the role of these signals? What are the informations that are traveling using these signals? No, this is now the big question. I also dug up one piece of Jurij Kim, where he is sensing the cosmic particles, the smallest, well, the very small cosmic particles that are flying constantly through us. They are so small that they can fly through us, through the whole planet, without touching any other atom. While in this sensorial array, he was using the sensors that are actually Geiger counters. And in these Geiger counters, you have the density that it's dense enough to be able to sense the muons. In these muons, every time they hit this array, you see the light and you hear the sound. And through that work, of course, also muons can be sensed also in fog chambers, where you have a fog on very low degrees, almost freezing, and you can see how the muons and also other gamma particles are flying through these fog chambers. But in this case, you can actually experience it like more physical, no? And just by observing it, no, you are somehow forced to extend your awareness of the space that it's part of, that you are part of, at least, no? If only this anthropocentric perspective. And also the questions, what if these muons are touching something in your body and maybe spin a little bit or something like that. How, and maybe we don't know how the other phenomena are linked to these cosmic activities. And it came to my mind a workshop that we have here. It was a Martin Hause workshop about the radio mycelium, where they were using mycelium as an antenna. And this is now opening, again, series of questions, how to sense, how to be part of an environment, and I think not the only, but one of the things that are becoming super obvious is that we as humans, as the specimens, are really dull to sense this variety of actions that are all around us. And this is also one reason why we still need this critical use of technologies and use them into totally unexpected way, investigate possible interconnections that are able to be sensed and not, I'm tempted to use understood, but it is going, in many times it is going beyond understanding. And because we as humans, we have like really good opinion about ourselves, but it's more and more obvious that we are kind of quite dull and inefficient in sensing environment, and this is also maybe why we are having such wrong attitude to everything around us, and this is also the reason, by having this wrong attitude, this is also the quite good reason to destroy this environment, which is let's say the meta layer that is of our interest curatorial wise and also I would say epistemologically. And if I just try to make an intersection through all these projects, and this is something that I was mentioned in before, by pushing these interconnections between so different phenomena that were in contemporary, in classical and contemporary science are setting apart. You have a laboratory for that, another laboratory for that, and myriad of laboratories that they don't know about each other. And there is no, or very rarely, there is no initiatives that will try to create more holistic approach to all this. So I believe that through the artworks we can unveil these different scenarios, speculative or not, that can open up a totally different way of seeing things, and then maybe create another stream of signifiers to be able, and epistemes, to be able to create a different language that would lead us to a different behavior toward our living and non-living environment. This is what I prepared for now. I hope it had a little bit of sense. If not, just take it as an obsession of a curator from Ljubljana. Thank you.